Hello, darling.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. Thank you for being on my podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, you know the reason why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to direct people back to who they really are.
Mm-hmm. For
And in
sure.
saying that, your music is so inspirational. As you know, it's my top downloaded music on Spotify. Like, I got my little replay and I was like, yeah, it's all your songs. And
Awesome.
for
That's
me,
a huge honor for
honestly,
me.
your music has inspired me, and I think music is a way to connect to the soul, and it's almost like sound frequency combined with a beautiful voice with a beautiful intention really heals.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I agree. Like music has huge impact on people's mood and spirit, So it's very powerful. Even in my own life, like if I don't know, like if I'm in a bad mood or something and if I hear a song, it can instantly change my mood. So I think it has that impact on most people.
I love that. And do you channel like something higher? I mean, what is your, because it sounds very connected, right?
In some sense, like I would say my best songs were written not by me. Like I was just like the vessel through which they came. Like sometimes they just come to you. Sometimes you have to sit there and actually work at it and like think about stuff, whether it's through your own life or other people's experiences. If I have a co-writer in the room, maybe it'll be their experience and I'm just the guy singing it. But it could be yeah, like I would say like some songs like that get written in 5 minutes, they just come to you. It's a very bizarre experience, but it's it's cool. It's almost like I didn't write the song; it just popped up in my brain, you know. And I
Oh.
think other songwriters will tell you that they have that experience too. So yeah,
I just love it keeping this all about you and like that creative process. It's like how beautiful to be a channel.
yeah, and like a lot of people don't know, like my music is actually all me because I also produce and mix and master all of it. So it's very heartwarming and interesting and amazing to me that so many people connect with something that I create. And it's like a huge privilege to be able to have that impact. And yeah, it's amazing. Like I get messages from people from all over the world. I've connected with so many people, including you, because of it. So it's an amazing
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah,
We're
I
on the
love
other
it.
side
And
of the pond. So
I know. And it's like that free, like, because sound healing frequency is in essence healing. So you can heal through all different mediums. And for me, sound, the voice, music is the most healing. Some people it's
I
touch,
agree.
some people it's, all different senses. For me, it's the sound, hence why I love the hypnosis, hence why I love doing this so people can listen to us. So how do you
Absolutely.
put the sounds together? The sound element, and
Um,
is it vibration or vibrational frequency that heals?
I don't know what the science is behind it, but like I do know that music activates certain parts of the brain when people hear it, and it can activate your dopamine. It can immediately lift your mood, and I kind of just make what I want, like what I'm feeling in the moment. Um, a lot of people ask about lyrics, but actually, I think the melody and the music is the thing that really moves me more than the lyrics, and so my focus is always on that first. And obviously, like I'm an R&B artist, so that's the kind of music that speaks to me the most. And I know you like R&B too, so
Yeah, I love R&B.
so most of
It's like
my
that soul music, but it's so lovely because you're so connected to your soul,
it is. And like the one
and it
thing that
reflects
I
in your
like,
music.
the one thing that about R&B that really gets me is like I don't know if you noticed, but like at the end of the song, like R&B singers usually go wild with ad libs, like they're just singing their heart out at the end and the final chorus of the
Yeah.
song. That's a very common thing, and it almost only happens in R&B if you notice it. Like pop music doesn't have that, and like country music doesn't have it, but R&B singers just go completely nuts at the end of the song with their ad libs because they're trying to get all their emotion and soul into the song, you
Yes.
know? So that's one thing that I really love about R&B that other genres don't have.
The passion.
The passion, you know, like I'm not to say that other genres don't have it, they just express it differently, you know. So like,
Yeah, it's almost like if I think about music like 112,
yeah,
like
exactly.
music, the R&B that comes to my mind, it's all like, I don't know, like I think Blackstreet was one of my first songs which I played again and again,
Yeah, they
like
were
Don't
awesome.
Leave
Yeah,
Me.
Blackstreet 112 are my favorite R&B group.
Really?
Yeah, I love
I love
112.
that. What
Part
was your
three,
favorite song?
Part 3 by 112 is my one of my favorite albums of all time. My favorite 112
Wow.
song would be, oh god, there's so many. Their Part 3 just had so many good songs, you know, like Sweet Love, I think. Uh and then It's Over Now, you know, some of their bigger songs like
I love that
Cute,
song.
It's
That's one of
Over
my most
Now.
favorite songs.
Yeah, I love that one. Anywhere,
Can
I
we
love
just
that
talk about
one.
that song? Can we just talk about that song?
Yeah, I love that one.
Because I had that song on repeat at one stage.
Really? Yeah,
112 is over now.
It's Over Now. Yeah, classic.
What a tune.
Oh my god, yeah, love that one. Um,
What is it about it that we both love?
I don't know. It's just
Tell me.
like I guess it's very relatable too. You know, like everybody goes through things where things don't work out. You know, and obviously it's a huge melody and the production is really cool, and the way like Duran's verse when he first sings, like when it, what is this, numbers in your pocket, as soon as it comes out up, it's
I
like
know. What a
it just catches
lyric,
you right away. You know, like it's just so awesome. One of my favorite
isn't
songs for
it? Oh
sure.
my God, you sing that beautifully when you do that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
You sound like them. But I love,
Kind of.
yeah, that is.
I've spoken to him on Instagram a few times. Yeah, he's super cool, and he actually produced that song too. A lot of people don't
Wow.
know that. Yeah.
Wow. And it's the essence, isn't it? It's like from the soul. And that, again, it's another soul thing of the pain of like, now you don't want to keep in touch with me no more.
Hmm.
And
Yeah. So I think that's
we don't
something
even
like
talk.
everybody relates to that. You know, like because relationships of all kind can fizzle out. You know, and I think they nailed that pretty well in that song. So
They nailed it so well. But if I look at like the relationships, I think that the heartbreak starts initially. Well, I suppose I should be asking you this question, but for me, it was more at home, like growing up.
yeah,
So that was my first kind of heartbreak. It was kind of like not feeling that loved at home, and then that mirrored in
yeah,
relationships, right? That kind of betrayal, and again, taking full responsibility of going, okay, that's what I came into the world to help people with, heartbreak.
well, you're
And
doing
to
a
do
great
that, I'm
job.
gonna have to, oh, thank you.
Keep it up.
But to do that, I'm gonna have to have my heart broken, right? And I remember when I came across your music, and it was a time when I was going through a healing time in my life. And your
Nice.
songs, it's almost like your music, it's like what every woman would love to hear. It's what you speak to. It's like,
Well, that's cool.
I
Yeah.
can't explain it, but
90
do you
90% of my
understand?
listeners are. Yeah. Well, yeah, like I think R&B in general, and even in my case, like 90% of my fans and listeners are women, you know. So I think, I don't know, I just think R&B as a genre is just more like it it attracts women more than maybe other genres, you know. Like I don't know what it is about it, but it does. So yeah, that's cool. Like I don't know, like I kind of just write the songs, me, either if I write them or I write them with my friend, or if he writes them or whatever. I don't know, they just come out that way, where I guess maybe they resonate with women more. I don't know. So
It's interesting, isn't it? Because when
fine
I
by
talk
me.
about 112, no, but
Yeah,
all the ladies, when I think about like
yeah,
112 and Usher and all the rest of it, all the men loved that, right? I remember being in China Whites back in the day in London,
yeah,
and the
yeah,
guys were like, like we're busting the. So I think that there is a resonance because quite a few of your songs speaks of avoiding intimacy,
um
and
some
I
of
mean
them do,
I
yeah.
know that you that Ring song, for example, you co-wrote that, but it was like I'm not gonna.
Which
I mean,
one,
that's
sorry?
one idea. You might have more,
Which
but it
one,
was
which
like
song?
it's not like the Ring one, and maybe some others where it's like I'm going to get back to you. Like it's not that I don't love
Yeah,
you. I've got
that's
things
a
that I'm going through.
that's a common theme in my songs. Yeah, there's a few of those that are speak to that, and like, yeah, it's because like this music thing that I've been pursuing is like such a huge goal, you know, and it's kept me so busy the last 5 years that I've just haven't been able to focus on other aspects of my life. So a lot of so I channeled that into a few of my songs where there were people like women that I was talking to that it just never got past a certain stage because I was like, I just can't give you the time that you want from me. It's not because I don't like you, or it's just that I have a limited window to make this happen, you know, and it's unfortunately like it's a sacrifice, right? But no pain, no gain. You know how it goes.
Yeah. So it's almost like, do you think that's following your heart?
Yeah, because I it is definitely because I definitely try to follow my gut in most instances, and it tells me like what I should do in this moment, you know, and as we get older and we evolve, like that obviously changes, priorities change. But yeah, in the moment, like I just felt like I have to give this my all and my 100% focus, and I couldn't afford any distractions. So so yeah. So like Ring, like I rewrote those lyrics from like a male perspective, but there is some truth to it, like from my own life, the way I wrote it, you know. So obviously the original song is
That's
by
just so
Kelani and
powerful.
yeah, Kelani and Cardi B, but I just wanted to put a male spin on it and maybe sprinkle in some details of my own life a little bit into it too. So and then I have other songs like that, like More Time, Low Key, that speak on that and those issues as well. So so
So
yeah.
do you think you can really love someone? Do you think if you really truly love someone, that it is just a case that you're just too busy?
I think so because like life is made of choices, right? Like you have to choose at the moment what you have to focus on, and like everybody says that yeah, you got to have balance in life, and I agree. You do need balance, but when you have a huge goal in front of you, you can't afford balance, you know? Like and especially with me, like I'm already doing the work of 6 people, you know, and so now I've actually one of the lessons I learned from my journey the last 5 years doing music is that I have to be comfortable working with other people. And eventually, if I want to scale this to another level, like I can't be doing everything alone. And because I've done everything alone, I've had to sacrifice other things in my life. Like I've had no time for anything. And so, yeah, it's taught me a really good lesson that way about working with others and not being so much of an island, you know, and isolated. So, yeah, I've
Yeah,
learned a lot
that's
the last
hard,
five
isn't it?
years. It's hard
It's
because,
very
like,
lonely,
me,
isn't it?
it's very lonely. Like people don't realize like they think just because you have thousands of followers and like millions of plays on your songs or whatever, like people don't realize like how lonely and isolating the life it can be because I'm literally just sitting in my studio all day just making music, you know? And it's much more fun to do it with other people. Yes, I can do it all alone, but after having done it all by myself, especially the last year and a half, because I don't even work with my co-writer or anyone anymore. Like the last year and a half has been completely me. And yeah, like I can get the job done, but then I also have to manage the business, right? So like I've decided like I just can't. It's just not sustainable long term. I have to bring in other people now, and that's exactly what I've done. So the next phase is going to be that. And I'm really glad I learned this lesson earlier on, you know, that you can't be to achieve big things, you have to do them together. You can't just be like, oh, I'll just do it all myself. It's just not possible. It's like, imagine if Jeff Bezos, you think he built Amazon all by himself? Of course not. You know,
Hmm.
it's too big. Like, you can't. Or anybody, any business. It doesn't even have to be a business that big. So,
So true. It's so true. And I just correlate that to times in my life where I've been seen to have achieved a goal, but got there and it felt very lonely because I'd done
mm-hmm.
it all alone. And the thing is,
Yeah,
when you're
you
self reliant and when you can do different things, it's easy to go off on that tangent. But at the end, when you
100%.
achieve it, it's like, there's no one here with me. There's like, it just feels so lonely.
It's very lonely. And like me, I learned how to do all this stuff like producing, recording, mixing, mastering, even doing like marketing and all this stuff out of necessity. Because when I started, I did want to work with other people, but then they were unreliable. And if I wanted to get in the studio and I
Yeah.
didn't want to wait 3 weeks to get in, and if I wanted a song, like a change made to a song, I didn't want to have to call the guy and be like, oh, can you turn the hi-hats down to 2 dBs? Like, and he's going to take 4 days to do it. So these things kept happening, and I'm like, oh, well, forget it. I'll just learn how to do it myself, you know? And so one thing led to another, and it got to a point where I was literally doing everything myself, you know? And I'm grateful that I acquired the skills to be able to do it myself, but now that I can do it myself and I can do it pretty well, like I'd rather, like you said, it's very lonely, and it's for what, you know, like life is made of connecting with people. And yeah, cool, I connect with my fans, but I'd also rather enjoy the process and have other people with me when I do it, you know? So that's been the biggest change in my perspective, I would say, over the last 2 years, where even up until 2 years ago, I was totally hell bent on just doing everything myself. And then the last 2 years, I burned out and I stopped being active, putting out music. And I'm like, I just couldn't take it anymore. It was too much, too boring. So yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not
Love
trying to
it.
complain.
I
Like,
love
yeah,
that
like
that process. It's like,
yeah, a lot of people message me on Instagram. They're like, "Oh, why haven't you released music? Why haven't you been posting?" I'm like, literally because I just needed to get away from it. 5 years of just doing this, being in the trenches, it was so much that now it's time for a change. You know, like I'm not going to be able to scale this to another level, continuing the way I have been. The actions that I took got me to this point, which was a good result, but it's not my full goal. And I'm going to have to start trusting other people and to be able to get to the next phase. And it's not so much
I
about,
love that.
you have to work with the right people, you know, like obviously if somebody's unreliable and flaky and whatever, then they're useless. They're not going to help you, right? So
It's a process. I know it even from doing this podcast. I've been through doing the same thing. Like people saying they're going to get back to me, and with the recording, and hence why I've kind of gone down the same route. But then eventually you find your people, and it's trial and
eventually,
error, isn't it?
exactly, like
You know,
yeah, like for example, if your podcast, if it was just you talking every week, you could knock them out so much faster, you know, and you could, but then if you have guests once in a while, it adds a different dynamic, right? So it's the same thing with music. Like I can finish a song myself so much faster than if I collaborate with other people. I can literally get a song done in 2 days, maybe 3 days max. But if I'm working with other people, it might take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because all these ideas have to come together. Everybody has to approve every change that happens on the song, you know? So whereas if it's just me doing it, it's just my decisions, and I can just literally say, nope, it's done. And so there are advantages to working alone, but it's just not as fun, you know? Like it's way more fun when you have people in the room.
yeah.
Way more
Like
fun.
that whole, like one of mine is like the way you make love is the way you live your life. And it's great. You can make love to yourself, but it gets very boring.
Yeah, it's not as
Which is
that's
all
actually
good, getting on that
that's a good
vibration.
analogy. Yeah, that's a
But
good
it
analogy.
is. It's like,
Yeah,
it's going to be, oh gosh, as the thing shakes. But there's
oh
only
my
so
god.
much of doing it alone you can do until it's like it's just not the same. It's that creative
Absolutely.
process, that creation. When you're a creative, it's like, like the birth of a baby being born, and you're nurturing that space for you. As you said, like it's so admirable. I'm at home, I'm doing this, I'm committed. It's almost like when you're birthing a baby, and it's like you're bringing others in that are going to nurture you and nurture that, and trust in your intuition, because you're very
Mm-hmm.
intuitive, aren't you?
Maybe now
How
that
do
I've
you how do you trust your intuition?
uh that's a good question. How do I
Mm.
trust my intuition? Yeah, like I'm a big believer in following your gut. You know, like if something feels right, then you should follow that feeling. And if something feels wrong, then you shouldn't follow that feeling. Like for example, if you're walking around at night and you get the feeling that I shouldn't go there because there might be danger lurking there, then you should follow that, you know, and not do it. So I kind of apply that philosophy to like business and life and whatever. Like if something doesn't feel right, then you just shouldn't follow it. And like obviously you can be wrong sometimes, but uh yeah, like that's basically it for me. Like I'm very tuned in with what I want, and if I feel like something doesn't line up with my goals, my gut will tell me that this is not lining up. You probably shouldn't do it. So, for example, like as far as like music goes, like 3 years ago, when when opportunities came for me to work with other people, my gut told me, don't do it. This doesn't feel right. But now it does feel right. And now I'm fully on board with it. I'm fully lined up with it, So I think the result will come from it now. Whereas 3 years ago, had I done it, I think it just didn't feel like it was the moment to do it. So, yeah.
And it sounds like you've been on your own journey, doesn't it? Like of going deeper into who you are and into your heart.
Yeah, I've done a lot of introspection, definitely, over the years, for sure. Like you do a lot of that too, I'm sure, as you've told me.
Yes, of course. As I say, like it's all like a mirror. And when I listen to your songs, as you said, like you've gone through this avoidance stage of I want to do it by myself, I want to be alone, and now it's like I want to connect. This is
Yeah,
good, but this is not serving me.
it's good. It's just like it's so boring, like uh it's become routine. Like it feels like a job now, We're like, oh, I'm gonna sit down and make a song. I've done it hundreds of times, and it's become very routine, and it needs a fresh dynamic and a fresh spin to it. And it's not even just about the songs. People don't realize like being an artist is a business. Like there's a whole business side to this beyond making the songs, and it's a very complicated business. And it requires a special expertise to manage that side of the business. And yeah, I have some of it. I can do it at a low level, but imagine if I have somebody on the team that's an expert at that side of it. Then imagine what you can achieve together, which you just can't do alone. There's just not enough hours in the day. And I don't want to do it. I just want to be a singer and a producer. I don't want to be managing the business and doing all that. And I've done it for years, and it's not for me. I want to have input into it, but I don't want to be the managing it. It's just, I don't get to be an artist then,
You don't get to
so
create.
I don't get to create. And that's my main thing. I'm an artist and a producer. Like I don't want to be doing anything but that. So, and I've had this realization because I've gone through that 5-year process, so it was cool. I enjoyed
I
it
love
doing
that.
all of it 3 years ago, but it's not, I don't know. You get older, you get wiser, and you change, and things that used to be fun for you are no longer fun for you, and new
Is that
things
the
start
same in
becoming.
love?
I guess so. Like, the thing with love is like a lot of people don't realize like love is basically just dopamine, at least romantic love, and it wears off after a
Wow.
period.
Come
So
on, tell me. What's
yeah,
your
I mean it is.
perspective?
I mean it is like what is being in love? Like being in love is just massive amounts of dopamine flooding your body. So
Yeah.
when you're around, but that's not going to last. It's not sustainable. So for you to have like, let's say you're married and you want to have a long-term marriage that's going to last and survive, then it has to be beyond that. It has to have a foundation that's beyond that. Otherwise, because dopamine is not going to last forever, right? So it fades after a while. But you can
That's it.
have, I don't know, but like that's what, like, from what I've read, and like it even from like my old life or from other people that I've seen, like there's always like this peak that happens, and then it's just like a slow drop, and then things fizzle out. But I think if you have a foundation of trust and a mutual affection and all that, then you have a shot at making it last a lifetime.
Is that what's
That's my,
happened to you?
well, no, I'm single, so not right
in
now. Yeah.
in your life experience, if we're talking
Yeah.
if we're talking about your relationships,
Yeah.
are you talking from experience here?
Somewhat, like, but I think for it to go the distance, like when you're young, like when you're like, if you're like 22, 23, you don't even know what you want, when you're older, you have a better understanding of what you want, and you can figure out, okay, is this going to work long term? Are your values the same? Are your goals somewhat similar? Interests, I don't really like, whatever, maybe they're similar, maybe they're not, but I think the biggest thing is values and goals. You have to share that more than anything for things to last. And maybe I'd love to hear your view on that.
My view.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, have an alignment with
Alignment,
values.
that's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
It's alignment. And what you're talking about, to me, it sounds like a soul, like dropping more into your soul. It's in essence what I said. You're like, are you making love, or are you just rushing over the after the dopamine, which might be fucking, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But it's that element of understanding that that can just fizzle out, and that's not deep intimacy and deep connection.
Exactly.
So saying that, what's your experience been in that journey?
Yeah. So I've actually written a song on my upcoming album about that. It's about like not trying to move past the superficial and the initial phase of like a year, maybe a year and a half, where things are like deeper and you connect on a much higher level. The song's called Wish for You. It's nobody's heard it yet other than me and a couple other people on my team, but
Beautiful.
yeah, maybe I'll
Wow.
send it to you
I
after, you
love
can
that.
listen to it. Yeah, so it's about like there's their line in the song called like let me pull up, I can't remember all the lyrics, but it's basically about like not just like having superficial relationships or something that's just physical, or and it's more about wanting something very deep and long lasting, you know because like as a public figure, like yeah, you'll get tons of messages from women all over the world and all that, but like who cares? It's all superficial. I don't know them, they don't know me, right? So like how deep can it possibly be? So that's basically what the song is
I
about.
love
And that song I did write from my own experience because it's something like maybe other people might not relate to it, but I can relate to it. So I wanted to put that one out on my next album. So maybe I'll show it to you. Not right now because I don't want to
I
get it
love
not
that.
I don't want it getting out yet, but yeah, so that's my take on it. So yeah, maybe
Yeah, so it's
you'll
going
like
from the
that one.
superficial. And was you tempted when you first got into the limelight with all of this,
Uh
because obviously on social
yeah, a
media
little
as
bit.
well, it's
Yeah.
like people appear to be, yeah, tell me about that journey. Like, did you go towards that? Because I don't think it's right or wrong, right? I think it's a
No, like a
learning
little bit.
process.
I've dipped my toes in it a little bit, but I don't really agree with that lifestyle of being like just like hyper promiscuous and all that. But I don't think it's good for you long term. It's men or women. I don't think it's good for you. So it's not good for your
Was it not
psyche.
good
And
for you?
I mean, I didn't
Yeah,
really do
tell
much of
me.
it.
Was it
I
not
didn't.
good for you?
I didn't do a lot of it. It's not that it wasn't good. Like I think it's different for maybe different people, but it's just not for me. I'd rather connect on a more deeper level, and so I think that's more valuable. You get more fulfillment from that. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I kind of, yeah, I hear that it's a process because some people think that's what it is about, right? And there again is no judgment, Nate. Sometimes you have to go towards that to then realize who you are
Mm-hmm.
and what you
Yeah,
need.
yeah. It's very like empty and like. I mean, I haven't like. I can't even imagine like what somebody like. Can you imagine like Trey Songs or somebody like that? What the level of attention that they would get, but it's like I'm just like low level. But yeah, that lifestyle is just not for me. It's just I just don't think it's a winning strategy long term for a man or a woman, you know. So that's
I
my
know
two
what you
cents.
mean. There's an essence of, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's the essence of when you know yourself and you know what you're creating, what you're saying is, Marina, that's the most important thing to me, number one. And number two, it's not having distractions and channeling that creative energy, which is your sexual energy as well, into your work.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you read books like Think and Grow Rich, most of the most creative people did this, and they didn't
Hmm.
get distracted by all these other forms of distraction because they were channeling that creativity. It's your creativity. Most creative people are very highly sexual people. There's nothing wrong with that. But as you're saying, it's like containing it and knowing where to channel it, and that experience of yours of it kind of not being good for your psyche,
I don't think it's good
because
for
it's parts
anyone.
of,
Yeah, it's bad for society, I think, to be like hyper.
wow.
uh I don't know, like what good comes out of it? You get broken homes and broken families, and nobody wants to nobody has like a long-term mindset. It's all like instant pleasure, instant gratification. you know So like, how can that possibly be good? If you're constantly chasing instant gratification, how will you build anything long term? So it's the same thing, really. And somebody like me or anybody who's a public figure, like you have more access to these instant gratification things. So you have to be extra careful, So that's just my take on it.
Do you
But
think it's a repressive careful? I mean, as you say it, I mean, I think for me, obviously, I think it's quite similar when you're a woman. I suppose you could,
yeah,
it's just knowing yourself deeply and knowing, as you said, it's like I could eat the McDonald's, but afterwards I'm not going to feel very good.
exactly.
And
And like, yeah,
knowing
you
that
gotta
about
have
yourself.
yeah, like you gotta have some fun and whatever. But like, yeah, like as an attractive woman, like you can have your pick of the litter anytime you want. So like, it's what does that say about you if you constantly indulge in that? It shows that you don't have
Mm.
self-control. So that's kind of it's the same thing with a guy. Like, it's not really a gender thing, but I just don't think it's good for society to be like that. So more than
I
no judgment,
understand.
like you, yeah,
I totally understand what you're saying. I
no
totally,
judgment.
there's an element of, yeah, no judgment, because sometimes
Yeah,
people have to go down this route to discover who they are. And it's not about judgment, but it's about us talking from experience and saying, do you know what? It's like, this is a brilliant example. So when I was younger, I was in a 13-year relationship. And when I was younger, just to be totally honest, my mum cheated. And I always feared that I'd cheat. And it was a fear that I had, right? And obviously being single for 3 years, but I'm being by myself, it's like I don't even cheat on myself. But it's like I just
yeah,
stay in, I'm doing my little bits, I'm like creating, I just don't. I'm like, oh my God, it doesn't even feel like I don't know, like lots of things that you'd think, or it's just wouldn't even come into my head because I'm creating, I'm doing what I love. And for me, it's very similar to you, doing my acting, doing this, doing that. It's probably, it's on par with having sex for me. Like I love it
nice.
so much. And so I don't feel that urge just to go and do that because it doesn't make me feel good and it isn't who I am. And
Yeah,
I
like to each
like
their
that.
own, right? Yeah, exactly.
But
Like
yeah,
I
some people they it is right. They, gosh, I can't believe I just done that again. Some people they enjoy that, and it's just that.
I
But
mean,
for
of course, like
me,
everyone
true
enjoys it.
intimacy,
Yeah. It's fun, right, in the moment, but yeah, it's not a good long-term
it's
strategy.
not though, not necessarily, not unless you're really connected to the person. For me
Yeah,
personally,
I
there's an
agree.
element of, okay, is it really fun if I haven't built a deeper connection with someone? If I haven't made agreements with them, if I don't know what they like and what they don't like, if I don't feel safe with them, is that fun or is that self destruct?
Yeah, that's true. So you pull out the full contract before.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
Excuse me. Here's the
Yeah.
boxes. No,
I'm kidding.
no.
No, but
But
I
yeah,
get what
yeah.
you're
It's
saying.
obviously like
Yeah.
letting go of that. But there's an element of, look, listen. Sometimes you can just flow in the moment, and I get that. But it's an element of being with someone who's deeply connected to themselves and respects themselves and respects you, and that can go deeper and deeper and deeper,
Hmm.
is the dream. And the dopamine hit, well, I think you can keep creating that if you
Yeah, I think
love,
like yeah,
respect, and honor someone.
yeah, exactly. That was my earlier point. Like it can't just be about dopamine. There has to be something deeper as the foundation for it to last. So that's my under
What's your longest relationship?
I don't know, like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. Yeah, not very
So
long.
that's your max, year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, because like with me, like I know what I want, and if I haven't seen the signs within the first year, I'm not gonna waste my time. Like I don't want to waste the other person's time, but I really don't want to waste my own time. And if I don't feel like it's gonna, if it's if I don't see the future, then what's the point? Like why toil through it if it's not gonna work? Like I've seen somebody, like one of my really close friends, he had like a 7-year relationship and he knew by year 2 that it's not going to work out. So why waste those extra 5 years? For what? You wasted her time and you wasted your own time. And you got nothing out of it other than being bitter. And you just lost 5 years of your life. So I'm very
Yeah.
practical when it comes to
It's
that, you know? I'm super practical, like when it comes to that. I'm like, if I just know that it's not gonna, because you know after a year, like compatibility and all that, you know, like how obviously people can change, but if you don't know within 2 years, come on, you know, like you need 7 years to make a decision. It doesn't make any sense to me. So, well, that's just my take on it.
yeah.
That's how I think. I make fast
It's
decisions.
hard.
That's how
Like,
I am.
when do you know? When do you know it's the right time to say yes or no? When do you know it's the right time to end it? It's an
Yeah, but like
interesting
I think
question.
7 years, like that's like a crazy long time to be able to make a decision. You know, like me personally, I make fast decisions. That's just how I operate. Because I follow my gut, I know what I want, and I make quick decisions. And I feel like if whatever it is, even if it's not a relationship, like even if it's like a job that you're doing, if you've been at the job for 2 years and you're not sure if you want to do it for the rest of your life, are you going to waste another 5 years at it? You know, so
Mm. We know
it's
what
the
you're
same
talking
thing.
about. It's self betrayal, because
Exactly.
all
Yeah.
betrayal starts with self betrayal. So what you're saying is, Marina, I don't betray myself.
Yeah, life is too short. You have to make fast decisions and know what you want. So that's kind of how I see it.
So after 2 years, 2 years, your longest, year and a half.
Yeah, about that. It's been so long. I've been pretty much just I guess music is my longest relationship. I've been doing nothing but this for 6 years now. So 5 years.
But it's your
And
love, it's your
music
passion.
music is a jealous mistress, you know? So she eats up all your time.
It's the love of your life, and you are the love of your life, right? And
Yeah.
you know that, channeling that, it's
Yeah, like
beautiful.
you just started your podcasting journey, you know? So I'm glad that you're enjoying it. I hope that you continue to enjoy it for years to come and the passion stays strong in you the whole time.
And you know what? It's just like being with it, right? And being with the passion and like loving this and knowing that, you know, that might take me somewhere else and that might lead me to something else. And that's okay, right? And that's the dance of life, to enjoy the passion and the flow and to see where it goes. And like what you said
Exactly.
is, Marina, I wasn't enjoying it doing it by myself. It became like work. It
I
wasn't
haven't I
passion.
haven't for 2 years now, almost 2 years, and it's been super boring and I'm like I barely want to do it. Like I don't care anymore if it's not going to be like you said if it doesn't serve you anymore, you have to either change something or you have to take a different approach. So,
Yes. So what are you doing? So your new approach is connecting with others, doing it with others.
yeah, so I'm in the process of finalizing like a partnership and all that, and so that will alleviate a lot of the business pressures on me, and it'll also free up my time to do other things. And in some ways, I'll also be a lot busier, but it's good. Like nobody likes being idle, right? And then I yeah, it'll just be. I think it'll be a more organic and cohesive way to scale and move forward. So that's uh
I
that's
love
basically the
that.
goal.
Mm. So I'm hearing about the growth and moving forward, and that's not moving forward has been like a weight on your shoulders. It's dragged you down.
Yes, exactly. And before
And then
what
there's
was
another element of like, what got you into this in the first place? Like, it's that
music?
deeper purpose, that deeper passion, that deeper meaning.
Yeah, so like I don't know, like when I got my first job out of university, like I just knew that I can't do this. Like this is just not for me. And then I still did it for years. Like I had a full-time job and then I had like a part-time job up until like 2017 and I was doing other stuff on the side. And I just knew like I can't work for somebody else. One, not because I don't. It's like I think I'm above it or anything. It's just not my personality. Like I like to just make my own schedule. I like to do things my own way, and you can't do that when you have a 9 to 5 job. Even if you like the job, you have to ask permission to take vacations. You have to, like, it's fine, there's benefits to it, but it just wasn't for me, you know. And I realized that very early. As soon as like literally my first day on the job, I just knew like this is just not it. But then I still did it because I had bills to pay and all that, so I kept going. I had many jobs for like 6 7 years, I think 4 or 5. But so I tried a lot of different stuff, and that's when I knew that I have to follow my own passion. And I always loved music, and obviously like I knew I could sing, and then I had to learn how to produce and become a better songwriter and all that. So that's kind of how it started, just from my desire to want to be independent and carve my own path.
Beautiful. And was there anything behind serving or helping maybe a younger you, like, because I feel your music is very healing. Is it
Really? Oh,
healing parts? Maybe is it something you would want to hear when you were younger?
probably because my younger self also really liked R&B, so but that's like a more superficial. Yeah, for sure. Like the music I used to make when I was younger was just like, it was fucking brutal. It was so bad when I started out, but I used to think it was amazing, you know. And now when I listen to it, my skin crawls. Like it was so bad, and but I think you need that, like, as when you're younger and starting out, you think everything is amazing, and that delusion keeps you going. And then as you keep going, you keep improving
Wow.
and getting better, right? So yeah, like,
Love that. I love that fantasy that it's almost like, when you're first in love with
yeah,
someone and then that illusion keeps you in it. But I
yeah.
love it that you correlated that to living your passion in music.
Oh, 100%. Like my earlier stuff was absolutely fucking awful. It was so bad that, like, and in fact, it was pretty bad up until I would say 2014, 2015. It was okay. Like, it was passable. And I had a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube. I had 100 other songs that I had to delete because I was so embarrassed of them. And people don't know this. Like, the stuff I have now, like, even some of it now, I don't like all of it, but it's passable. Like, it's okay to leave it up. However, up until 2014, 15, like, it was, some of the stuff was so bad that, like, when I hear it now, because I still have it on my computer, like, it makes my skin crawl. But I think a lot of artists go through this because this is just the process you have to go through to become good at your craft, so you have to, like, you're an actress. Like, imagine you probably didn't
Mm.
like your earlier performances, when you didn't know the ropes, and now
Yeah, there's
you
an
might.
element of but it's almost like what I hear, like from a coaching perspective, is like a really big inner critic, like the skin crawling. Because I mean, I love this younger self that took risks and that put it out
Yeah,
there. And you know what? Fuck it if it's not perfect.
yeah,
Because if that younger self wasn't around, you wouldn't be where you are today. And it's that
100%.
standing in the face of failure, standing in the face of, hey, I'm just going to put it out there. And it's the only way we learn. It's the only way we grow. It's like, if we don't go towards a relationship, we're not going to fucking learn how to love. I'm sorry. We're just not. You're not going to love yourself by sitting in a room. You're just not.
100%. And that's one thing
It's
I
the
am
same
very
thing.
grateful for, that I had the balls to actually go for it when a lot of people didn't, because excuse my language. But
No,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
X-rated. So we're
Okay, okay, cool. I've been trying not to swear and stuff, but obviously I let a few out. My bad. But
oh no, brilliant. No, it's loud on mine. Well, this is it.
um
It's about expressing ourselves fully.
yeah, like, I'm going to be like, 90-year-old me will be very happy that 23-year-old me did it, that he went for it against a lot of opposition, because the culture that I come from, they're not very fond of you pursuing something like music, So, like,
I love this. So
you
let's
get tons
talk
of
into
hate.
that then. Fucking
Yeah, so like,
courage. Fierce courage.
yeah, like, I've always been a bit of a rebel, and I just do what I want. So I was gonna do it regardless of whether my relatives and family or whoever thought it was a stupid idea for me to do it. In fact, it got so bad. Like, when I sold my house and I put all the money into my music career, people thought I was absolutely fucking crazy for doing that. So, but I had to do it because, like, selling a property and an asset and putting it into something precarious like music, that's but that's what it takes. If you believe in yourself and you have the balls to do it, then you do it. So I did that 6 years ago in 2017, and a lot of people thought I was nuts. I actually sold. I had another property that I was a co-owner of. I even sold that one. So everybody thought I was crazy. I was like 30 years old or something, and I did it. And it's people thought I was nuts. And this is even before, like, when I was in my 20s, and when I was started doing it, they're like, "Oh, I don't know if you should do this. You should keep your job or whatever." But then, as I got older, I went extreme. Like, I cut off all ties. I burned every bridge behind me. I sold my house, and that's how I went full time with music. And
Wow.
I hope somebody hears that and gets gives them the courage to do it too, because especially like from my like people of my culture, like, I hate to say this, but they're not very supportive of the arts. At least the older generation isn't.
Yes, and what I mean, explain what is your culture, like, to
So
anyone that
my
doesn't
background
understand
is
it. What
my
culture?
my background is Pakistani mostly, and then
Yeah,
yeah, I have a couple of drops of some other stuff in me. I'm actually 1/8 English too, which is random, but
very
so
random.
I don't know how that happened, but I am. But yeah,
We're getting everywhere. These English people.
yeah.
God
Well,
love them.
the empire stretched all over the planet, right? So I'm sure their genes are everywhere. So
So let me test your culture.
yeah, yeah. So basically, like, everybody wants you to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, and if you're not one of those three things, you're basically a fucking loser. That's basically the culture. And
Where does that come from? Where does
I
that
don't
come
know.
from?
They're just not like supportive of the arts. It's not like, I don't know. Maybe it's like I don't know where it comes from, but they're like, if you're not a doctor, like, or some kind of professional. And I went to university, like, I graduated, but I didn't do my master's or anything like that, just because I just wanted to pursue music after that. And I started doing
What
my
did you
C.
graduate in?
I did business and accounting, and then I was gonna do my
Of
CPA.
course you did, darling. Of
Of
course
course,
you
because, like,
did.
what else am I gonna do, right? Like if you don't do that or law or medicine, you are a loser in this culture. It's just that this is just how things are seen. And I can't
Yeah.
go to my family. Yeah, well, fuck this. I want to be an R&B singer. They're like, are you out of your mind? So this is just how, yeah, this is just how the culture is, and I'm glad it's changing now. You're seeing more people of East Asian, South Asian, Middle Eastern descent doing things more in the arts now, but like 10 years ago, it was nothing. So
Wow.
I didn't care. It didn't stop me, just because you only live once. You got to just do it, So it's, yeah. But in our culture, like, even now, I don't get the hate that I used to from family and relatives, because, like, now I have some outward success. Like, once you get the blue check mark on Instagram and you have 100 million plays on your songs, like, people will back off a little at that point, But it's
So when is that, when they backed off? Is that when they backed off?
literally the day I got the blue check on Instagram, like, a bunch of my relatives messaged me. They're like, "Oh, wow, like, that's crazy." And I'm like, "You realize it means nothing, right? But now, because you look legit." It's like, it's such a superficial thing, but, like, to me, that doesn't mean anything, getting that, but to other people it does. But that, and then when they see that you have, like, millions of plays on your songs, then they kind of be like, "Oh, okay, maybe there is something to this." But in the early days, when I had no fans and no followers, no streams, nothing, like, no ever, I was getting hated on, like, hard, up until probably 2019, 2020, by even relatives. And 2020 is when things started picking up for me during the pandemic. So uh even now, like, I'm nowhere near my goal, but I feel like now I have a good launch pad to get to my goal, but 3-4 years ago, that wasn't the case. And
I love it that you followed your heart. And did you have anyone backing you at all? Going, you
yeah,
could
so,
do
like,
this.
my siblings were very supportive. My sister, brother, my mom was too. My dad wasn't until recently. uh I guess some people just need to see success, right? They just need to see that it's working. Whereas some people will believe in you from the beginning, just because of your talent or whatever, and then or maybe they just want to support you. I do have supportive relatives too that have supported me from day one, like a few cousins, but I would say most of them weren't. But now they kind of are, because what are they going to say now? Like, it's working now, so they can't really say at this point, that it's not. So it's some people just need to see visual success. And that's just how it goes. And either way, it wasn't going to stop me. Even if nobody supported me, I just wasn't going to listen to them anyway. So it would have made no difference. So I just do what I want.
And it's about them, and it's about their limits, isn't it? Isn't
Yeah,
it
like a
though?
lot of these people
It's not
had their
about
own
you.
dreams. Yeah, sometimes they just hate because they didn't have the balls to do it themselves, and or the courage to do it themselves. And now they see you doing it and they don't like that because it reminds them of their own failings. So,
Yeah, because so often we just do what our parents say. I remember my parents being very similar. I was very creative. I wanted to act, same type of thing. And they're like, no, 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 you need to be a lawyer. I'm
yeah,
like,
like,
oh, but I
the,
love art. What are you going to do with art? Well,
yeah, like, does the world really need another accountant or a lawyer? Like,
well,
that's
not
what
when
these people.
AI's coming, my love. AI's coming.
Yeah, AI.
It
Yeah,
definitely
AI.
won't. That's what I say to my kids,
That's
say
the
to
thing.
my
Like,
children.
AI is going to replace a lot of these industries and fields, and that's pretty scary. Like a lot of people. It's funny. Like so many people told me, "Oh, music is a very risky business. It's precarious." And yes, to a degree, it is. But streaming has actually changed that. Like I know a lot of people that lost their jobs during the pandemic, but my income actually went up in the pandemic because people were consuming my music much more, and I was obviously getting paid more royalties and all that. And it was very stable, and still is to a degree. And like, how can you say that there's less security in this when I actually think there's more security in it because I control it, and it's independent of what the economy is doing. People listen to music whether it's the economy is good or bad. In fact, in bad times, they listen to it more. So it's almost
They need it
recession proof.
more.
Yeah, it's almost recession proof. People don't realize that.
Yeah.
It's actually less risky than doing a job, provided that you're good at what you do and you've built it to a certain level. Obviously, you need it to get to a certain point for it to be that. But yeah, imagine you had a job and you lost it. Now what? What are you gonna do now?
It's so true. It's like following your passion, following your heart, doing it for a reason to give back. And as you said, music heals. And it's the essence of, I feel that because obviously I'm about love and love alchemy and transmuting things through love. But your music does that too, with how anyone, like if a guy watches it or listens to it, but listens to it or even watches, if he wants to see the video, and can resonate with a time where he didn't want to be in a relationship, or a woman listens and says, oh, I really, this is what I'd love a man to say to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's one song I've got that I've I played, someone recommended it to me, and it's on my playlist, but I would listen to it before I go to bed, and it's like this beautiful, like old song of this man saying he loves me so much.
Yeah,
But sometimes it's what we need to hear,
for
and it's
sure.
parts
Yeah.
of ourselves. And if we haven't, like when you coach someone, if they haven't had that enough, it's building that inner wisdom, building that voice, so they connect to that more than the one that goes, oh, oh, you're making my skin crawl, like the one that you said, that keeps you
Mm-hmm.
anything, and keeps you not doing anything. Because our parents' voices become our voices, and the only way we
100%.
help that grow is, I would say to anyone that I coached, like, find the love song, find that song, that them words that you want someone to say, listen to it, because it goes into your subconscious mind, and before you sleep, your brain is in theta. So them words go into your subconscious mind, and it almost builds your self-esteem. It builds you up, and your songs speak to that. So if people listen to them, like when they woke up, when they went to sleep, men or women, men, if they wanted to, like, it's just, it talks into that.
Yeah.
Can you resonate with what I'm saying with them lyrics?
Yeah, absolutely. Like me personally, I'll be honest, and I know this is weird because I'm an artist, but I actually don't really pay attention to lyrics much, at least in the beginning. I listen to the melody. Melody speaks to me much more than lyrics do, so but yeah, like the lyrics are the thing that some people, like maybe you grab more of the lyrics initially. Is that how like they hit you
It's the
first?
element of, I know, right? So the power of your subconscious mind. So when you do hypnosis, you do it, you say the word sleep and your brain goes into theta, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your brain is already in theta. So the words are going into your subconscious mind.
Right.
So the melody and tune, right? You get into it, you get the rhythm, you get the soul, and I get all that. So it's like, but it's the words that penetrate your soul. It's like what you've always wanted to hear.
That's true. Like they are kind
Like
of
I love
programming
you.
you. Yeah, they are kind of
They're
programming you
programming you
at some level. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's weird. Like I don't
because
know.
there's a
Like
lot of R&B out there that works the other way, right?
yeah,
Which can be, there's R&B out there that can be kind of like, derogatory to certain things.
yeah.
And,
Like some of it is
you can feel
pretty
the,
like some of it is a bit demeaning to women and stuff too. And I try to keep it classy in my own lyrics and stuff. But yeah, I agree. Like it's funny because I'm so bad with lyrics that I forget my own lyrics all the time. so so that just goes to show you how
but that's
unimportant.
natural.
Yeah, like I'll remember them if I have to, like when I'm rehearsing, but I'll write a song and record it, and literally a week later I'll forget the lyrics because it's out of my mind. But I'll never forget melodies. So I don't know. I guess that's just how my brain is wired. But yeah, I never forget
I love
melodies.
it.
Even in most of my
I
songs, like
think the
even when
melodies,
I'm like a melody guy. Like when it comes to songwriting, like I come up with melodies. Like lyrics take me forever to come up with. And in fact, the only times they come fast is when I told you, like when like some inspiration just hits and the whole song just writes itself. But that doesn't happen very often. It's once in a while. I only write songs maybe twice a year where I have this period of like extreme inspiration and motivation, and I'll just get like 10 songs done in a week. And then I'll take the following months to produce them or whatever, the ones that I like. And yeah, so that's kind of how I do it. But I agree with you. Like the lyrics
that
can be
makes
very
sense.
powerful and they can program you. But I've always been a melody person personally. My friend who I write with, he's a lyric person, so he's like amazingly fast at writing lyrics and like just crazy fast. It's insane. Like he can write an entire song in 5 minutes. so so that's why we made a good team, because I come up with melodies very quickly and he comes up with lyrics. Obviously he does melodies really well too, and I can do lyrics too, but yeah, so that's yeah, so for me it was always melody first.
I love that. And the melody and the healing with that, with the tune. But it's almost like to write lyrics. I mean, for me to write and produce something, I'm going to sit there and it has to come from my heart. It has to come from my soul. Like if you
Yeah.
could do that all the time, I don't know if it would resonate, because it
Hmm.
depends if you're using your own inspiration or your own things that are in your life, or you're getting out there to experience stuff, then you're
So
going
the,
to get it more than just, as you said, sitting at home alone.
yeah, so the problem with that is that if you only rely on your own inspiration, like it's going to be very hard for you to put out 200 songs, because how much can you write about your own 2 3 experiences or 10 experiences even, so it's what the way I would do it is there are songs that I've performed that I didn't write any lyrics in. My friend did. Like I had him put in the structure and the melody and stuff, but like I have a song called Try It. I didn't write a single word in that song, but it's still an original song. I obviously made the beat and I recorded it and I helped with the melody and stuff, but I didn't write a single word in it. And but I wouldn't have performed it if I didn't think it was something that would work for me. Like I'm not gonna just sing any lyric that somebody else writes if I feel like it doesn't suit me, or if it's off brand, or if it doesn't suit my personality, I won't sing it. So that's kind of how I maintain the authenticity if I didn't write the lyrics. It's the same thing as doing a cover, right? Like I'm not gonna cover a song that I don't think suits me or suits my personality. I didn't write the lyrics to a cover, like something like All I Have to Give, the Backstreet Boys song. I feel like I can do that song because I like it obviously, and it's something that is on brand for me. But I wouldn't do a cover of Baby One More Time by Britney Spears because it'll sound stupid doing it. So if that makes any
And
sense.
you sing that song so beautifully.
Thank you. Yeah,
That's
it's one of
such
my
a
favorites.
gorgeous. Wow. Yeah, it's even better than the original.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Oh, it
I think the
is. Do you
original
think
would have
it's
been
about
better.
quantity?
Yeah, I think the original would have been better if AJ sang the whole song rather than the other three. But that's just my 2 cents. AJ from
Yeah,
the
I think
Backstreet
he. I,
Boys.
I think probably I agree with that.
Because
But
he's
the
like
way that you sing it,
yeah, because he's an R&B singer too. Like the way he sings like an R&B singer, and that song is very R&B. And it's whereas like Nick and Brian and all those guys are good singers, but they don't have the their voice doesn't suit that melody. I think personally, you need like if AJ should have just done that whole song, and it would have been absolutely amazing. But whatever, it's still an amazing song. So
but you sing it so much better, so much better.
thank you.
I agree. And do you know, is it about quantity or quality in what you do?
So it was about both. And initially, it was more about quantity because I wanted to get the reps in. I wanted to practice my producing, recording, singing, mixing, mastering, all that stuff. Now it's become about quality, which is why I'm not putting out as much music as I used to. The last couple of years, I haven't. And because I want to use every ounce of skill I have to making the best product I possibly can. And I don't want to have the pressure of having to release music and post on social media while I'm doing this. I'm actually putting my next album together right now because I'm not doing covers anymore. I'm not doing remixes or anything like that. Like I want to just put all my energy into my own art. So now it's only about quality. And I'm not going to record any song just for practice now. Just I used to do that. I used to just record everything because I needed practice, but I don't need practice now. So I'm not gonna do it on a song that I feel is a waste of my time. So now it's
Stepping
all
into the
about
star of
quality.
your own show.
Yeah,
It's
now it's
all
only
about
about
you
quality. Yeah, it's only about quality now. Like I
and
don't.
you.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's
because I
also
think
about my
that,
fans,
even
but
like, yeah, but I mean, it's almost like you stepping into you, right? And being like, this is who I am. I know that my worth. I know what I can do. You love the melodies. If I think of like, I don't know if I'm saying his right name right, but Alexis French, like it's all about just him on the piano. And I don't know if you know him as an artist, but it's all about that melody that
no,
he
I don't think so.
produces.
I'll look
It's
them up. No, I have.
phenomenal, like purely like the same thing, like channels God. And it's like, wow. And it's just like, it hits your soul. It's classical, but, and it's like, that's you.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
love
like
that.
and that's one of the reasons like I get requests to do covers like all the time, and even though I've said it like 50 times now that I'm not doing them anymore, and it's cool, like obviously not everybody sees everything you post on social media, but it's flattering that they want me to do it. But like I feel like it's not my art if I'm singing somebody else's song, like I'm just doing a rendition of something they came up with, which is cool. I can make the production my own, but the song isn't mine. Like all I have to give, I didn't write that song. It's not my song, you know. I made it mine kind of with my version, but there's a limit to that. So I feel like you have to make your own art at some point, and I've gotten to that point where it has to be just my art now. I can't sing other people's songs at this point.
Beautiful. Did you stop listening to other people's music to do that?
It's funny you asked that. Like I'm also my own top artist on Spotify, which is kind of embarrassing. But
I love
so
that.
I'm in the I had like 4,000 people that had me as their top artist or something, and I'm one of those 4,000 people. You are too, so thank you for that. I appreciate that. So we're both in
I
that
love
pile,
it.
but it's weird like that. I guess I do listen to my own music more than I thought I did. I listen to a whole bunch of stuff. I even listen to country music, rock music. I listen to everything, like a lot of stuff. R&B is still my favorite, but I also like pop music a lot. In fact, my next album is a lot more pop than my old stuff. It's like 80s pop kind of mixed with R&B. So
I love that.
yeah, no, I don't just listen to me, but I guess I do listen to me more than I thought I did after being my own. I was in the top 0.01% of my listeners or something. So, but
I love that.
I mean, the thing is, I have so many songs, right? Like I have 160 songs out, so it's not like some of them are like new songs again to me because I haven't heard them in years. So it's
That's phenomenal, actually. And I feel, like for me, I stopped following everyone on Instagram because I was like, I want to be a creator, not a follower. And I don't watch TV, so I don't watch people act. And it comes from like, okay, these are the words, and how am I going to interpret that? But it's the element of sometimes when you're creating, for me, and I don't know if it's the same as you, it's like I don't want to be. It comes to a point where you're like, no, like when you're stepping into your power and you're going, no, Marina, I'm only going to do my own stuff. There's something powerful in that
I
and
agree.
admirable. There's an element of knowing who you are.
100%. I agree. Yeah, and like,
How many people do? Because these days we're like, oh, you want to be like this, you want to look like this, you want to follow this fashion, you want to do this, you want to post the same picture as everyone else. Like, how have you cultivated that? And how can you inspire others to do the same?
yeah, like I haven't unfollowed everyone yet on Instagram, but to be fair, like I never like look at any people's posts and stories anyway. Like I'm barely ever on there. I only go on to check DMs and to post or myself. Otherwise, I try to avoid the distractions of social media as much as possible. Um, yeah, that's a good question. How do I don't know. I guess it was a process of just learning to do everything myself, and then it got to this point where it just became a thing. And like kind of like you don't watch other performances or TV and stuff, so you can when you act, it's coming only from you. There's no outside influence, you know. But with me, I do obviously have a lot of musical influences, like the Underdogs, Craig David, all these guys have been huge influences on me. But now, but after doing it all myself for so long, I think I've made something that's kind of just mine now. You know, I have my own sound. So, but it was a process of getting
Beautiful.
there. When I started producing, I used to just copy. There were two producers, music producers, that I used to just copy like crazy: Brian Michael Cox and the Underdogs. So to give you an example, like Brian Michael Cox produced "Be Without You" by Mary J. Blige. You know that song, right? Yeah. So
I love that song.
yeah, the Underdogs produced like "How You Gonna Act Like That" by Tyrese and a whole bunch of other stuff. Like
Tune.
No Air by, yeah, that's my favorite song ever. Uh, and that,
Really?
oh
How
my
are you going to
god,
act like that?
that is my
What are the
favorite song
lyrics
of
on
all
that
time.
one? Go
It's
on. Like,
everything: the melody, the production, the lyrics, his vocal. Tyrese's vocal on that song is just insane. Like the way he sings that song, the melody is
can you
amazing. The
remind
harmony.
us a little bit of the song?
How you gonna up and leave me now? How you gonna act like that? You know that one, right? That
I
song.
love that song.
I love that. That's like my favorite song ever. So I mean, I have a lot of other favorites too, but like I would say that's probably my all-time favorite song. I just love that song. And everything about that song is just flawless to me. The mix, the production, the harmonies, the vocal production, the vocal performance, like it's just a masterpiece to me. So I used to copy them a lot, the Underdogs, who are my favorite music producers, and I used to copy Brian Michael Cox a lot, who I liked but not as much as the Underdogs. And then I learned by copying, you know, and then I started putting my own spin into it. And then other influences came in, and then it became what it is now. Even if you listen to my music, if you listen to the way I do my bass lines, to this day, it's very similar to how the Underdogs do their bass lines. A lot of people won't pick up on it, but like if you listen to my music and you go listen to any song that the Underdogs have produced and you listen to how I do my bass lines, it's very similar. So that influence is still there to this day. So yeah,
Wow.
I have
So
to
you're
give
like,
credit where it's due.
what genius, to be fair, to self. It's almost like, what I'm getting, what I did get earlier from this is something around teaching. Like, there's an element of, would you ever teach what you do?
At this point, like I did write a book and all that, so like I wouldn't. I kind of made a course back in the day. I never did anything with it. I didn't promote it or anything, but it was just something to get a break from making music. I'm like, oh, why don't I try writing this and making a course? So I did do that. I haven't pushed it yet because I just don't have the time to market it and build a whole brand around that yet. So who knows? In the future, I might. I wouldn't do it
Wow.
myself. I would just promote the course, but I wouldn't spend my own time teaching at this point. It's not something I enjoy.
But get somebody else to promote. This is what I mean, like
Yeah.
a digital
Yeah.
almost course, because it
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
like you had that courage to go learn yourself, to almost imitate what the greats done. And then through that, you made your own process, which by doing that, you've obviously simplified it. And there's so much expertise and knowledge there, I feel, for other young men like yourself or women that want
Yeah,
to do
for sure.
this. Like,
It
if
would
they
be
could
cool to
buy that
have more women.
course.
Yeah, it'd be cool to have more female music producers, and I think there are more now, which is a good thing. It was a very male dominated industry up until 10 years. Even today it is, but I think it's changing now. So yeah, if like my course can help people, for sure, I would love for uh bring somebody on that can do the marketing. I just don't have the time. I made the course, but I never did anything with it because I just don't have time. But maybe I will in the
Well, if
future.
anyone's listening in that's a marketing person, get in touch.
Yeah,
Because I think there's an element of what a gift. And yeah, I don't know many women that produce. I wouldn't even know how to get into producing
there are a
as a
few.
woman. Like,
I mean, like you can learn it the way I learned it. Like, just I learned how to produce music off YouTube. So that's obviously available to everyone, women and men. Um, there are some female mix engineers and that have mixed some huge songs, producers. It's definitely it's changing now. So like it up until 20 years ago it was completely male dominated. So now it's changing, which I think is a good thing. So it should
yeah, I
be.
love that. And I love the fact that you can help and teach that.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, probably not me personally because I just don't want to spend the time teaching because I'd rather just do it through the digital course. But
Yeah,
I mean
yeah.
that's
Just
why I
even
made
if they
it.
could
Yeah,
buy it, right?
yeah. Like
A
I
few
wouldn't go and want to
videos.
teach a course like go in like a classroom and teach, and not at this point. It's just I've taught like jujitsu. Like I'm only a purple belt in jujitsu, but I've taught. It's all right. Like it's not teaching is not something I enjoy much. Sometimes it's a cool to do once in a while, but it's not something I would want to do a lot of.
It's almost
So
just like sharing your gifts and talents, and whoever wants to buy that online, then
yeah,
you've done your
exactly.
duty,
Yeah, exactly.
your give back.
Exactly, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, you should
I
teach
love
too.
that. I
Well, you
love
kind of
that.
do already. You do coaching and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's an element of like the same as you. Like I want to put my hypnosis tracks online, and then the right people can find it, and then you're obviously serving, you're helping, you're,
Yeah,
providing something, your gifts, your talents, but at the same time you're conserving your energy to create and
exactly.
to produce
Exactly. Yeah, I think
and to
that's a better way to
connect.
do it. Yeah. So yeah, you should write your own
I think in today's day and age, I think it can impact more people. So I would rather everyone be able to have my hypnosis for £1 than charge, I don't know how much, like some coaches that I know that's charged 200,000 for a year.
wow. Yeah.
Like I would prefer that.
Yeah, and then you can
So it's
scale
just
much
knowing
better.
what impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
super
me, that's
interesting.
more people can. For me, when I was young, I had no one. So very similar to you. I didn't have, I remember lonely times in my life where I used to read proverbs out of books, really random, and Bible quotes.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, when I was like
Cool.
struggling when I was young. And if I had social media then to find, or maybe somebody else that was getting bullied, or somebody else that felt alone, or somebody else, then that would have really helped me. And I think of low times where I've watched a motivational speaker or somebody inspirational, it's really helped me. So if I can be that person in somebody else's life, then I've lived my purpose.
Absolutely. 100%. And that's what gives you fulfillment. So,
I
it's
love that.
it's a
Like, I'm
noble
like,
pursuit.
yay, like if I leave the world tomorrow and people can just have that and not feel alone, because I think we've got that synergy of going through times in our lives where we felt alone.
Mhm. For me, I felt
And
it more like the pandemic obviously made things worse. Like that was for me. I didn't think it was going to hit me as hard as it did, but it did. And I think a lot of people went through that. I don't know how your experience was with that, but obviously worldwide, a lot of people had mental struggles through that period.
what was that like for you?
Well, see, like with me, because I'm always locked in my studio making music, and my social outing was jujitsu. Like I would go to my gym, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I was doing that 4 or 5 times a week because that was my social outing. That was how I would exercise, and that was completely taken away from me for a year. Like all of a sudden, lockdown taken away, and it really did mess me up a lot because that's how I would keep my sanity. You know, and I love jujitsu. Like it's one of my favorite things in the world, but it was suddenly all of a sudden government announced you can't do it, and and it was the case for like over a year. So obviously like yeah, it was tough. And obviously that's a pretty small thing compared to what other people, like other people lost their jobs and their livelihoods, and that's way worse, you know, than what happened to me. But it was tough not being able to do it. So
Yeah, because this is about, because I think so often we compare ourselves and our journeys to someone else and make our emotions wrong. And
yeah.
it's okay. It's okay
Yeah, like I don't want to
to
sound like
go
a
through.
crybaby either. Like I'm extremely privileged, you know, but other people had it way worse. But even me, like I've always been like a recluse where I just sit and do my own thing. But if it hit me, imagine somebody who's very social and very constantly needs their friends around. Like imagine how hard it would hit somebody like that, you know? That's that was my point pretty much. Like I'm
And
perfectly
it's
happy
just
being
amazing,
alone.
isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like you're saying with Marina, I'm an introvert,
I'm not an
and
introvert, like
yet
I'm
I
more of a
struggle.
recluse. Yeah. I wouldn't say like I'm very social and friendly with people when I'm around people, but I'm equally happy just being by myself. So, I'm very
Ambivert then,
outgoing.
because you know what the
Maybe
difference
that's the word,
is.
yeah.
Do you know what the difference is?
Not quite,
Because an
no.
introvert gets their energy from being alone, an extrovert gets their energy from a group, and an ambivert gets their energy from being alone and in a group.
Okay, so that's me because I love being around people, but I also love being alone. So, I don't know. Yeah, so I guess
Yeah.
thank you
Hmm.
for teaching me that. Yeah, it's yeah, like I love being around people, but I'm equally happy sitting alone in my studio and just making songs and whatever. So yeah. So yeah, it did hit me. I don't know, how was it for you? The pandemic.
It was a very different time. I think the thing is for me, when I had my children, it was like COVID on steroids because I went through that time then where I went out a lot, all my friends disappeared, and then I had a crying baby waking me up all the time, and I didn't go out and I just stayed at home. So I'd already gone through that transformation of where I kind of looked at myself in the mirror and didn't like parts of myself and kind of went into, I'd say that. Then the difference was in this lockdown, I was obviously going through my divorce
Right.
and I did a lot of grieving. And even though I was grieving, I was so grateful. There was so much grace for this space. So it was interesting. It was one of the times where I think acting is probably one of my things that got me through, right? Being able to pick up a script and go, okay, I can channel this feeling into this character. I can do something I just, love. And for me, that was the acting. I turned to the acting. People turn to all different things, but I turned to like a childhood passion, which was taken away from me. And I think connecting to that and different parts of myself, like the shadow part, like the darkness, being able to play like a horrible character or a crying character, but it's just like all emotions are valid, right? And being able to express myself through acting. I think again, it's very similar to music.
Mm-hmm.
What a gift, because guess what? It's okay to have all of you. Like, I'm very out there with this is who I am because I want to show people it's okay to have different parts of yourself and to have light and dark, and everyone's human and no one's perfect.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
we
So
play these roles.
it was like the beginning of a new chapter for you. So there comes a little bit of pain, but growth comes from that too.
It's like grieving, but it's grief, but then wow. Like I could always step into the grace and gratitude for that experience of an emotion.
Wow, that's
Tell me
amazing.
about you with what you had gone through.
From the pandemic?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, so like we had to make changes. Like we started training secretly without like in people's basements and garages. And after 3 4 months of not being able to train, so like a few of my friends would get together in my friend's garage and we would train there. So like we kind of did it that way. And then the good thing that happened was that my music like fan base and stuff grew a lot during that time. So it really started to like get get more. Uh reach more people. And that was the cool thing, that I was able to connect with a lot more people. So that's something good that came out of it. And yeah, it also made me realize like just how short life is, and like how important it is to have new experiences, and how things can get taken away from you so quickly, that it's important to like really live fully each day and have new experiences. That's why as soon as uh the flights were open, in fact, we weren't allowed to fly or go anywhere for like a year and a half. So as soon as we were allowed, I booked a 2-month trip to Europe, and that's when I went last year for 2 months, because I'm like, I need to do it now while I can. And then I came back. Then this year I decided to do 2 months in Mexico, which I loved. Like, in fact, I loved it so much that I would consider even living there. And so it taught me to like take action fast, and like if you want to have an experience, go do it. Like don't wait, because you never know. Like, like look at what's happening in Ukraine. Like we're on
Mm,
the brink of a world war potentially. God forbid, I hope it doesn't happen. But
yeah.
look where that came from. It came out of nowhere. And you never know when things can change quickly. Like the pandemic, nobody saw that coming, and everybody had to lose 2 years of their life because of it. And so I that's why I did it like right away. I'm like, cool, I need to have a reset. I'm gonna go to Europe for 2 months, and it was awesome. And I'm very grateful that I can even do that, because of the work that I do. It's all online. I can pick up and leave anytime I want. So that's something I'm very blessed and privileged to be able to do.
I love that. And you're honoring your values. And I think when you honor your values, so I hear that you've got big values around freedom, adventure, living in the moment, like living in the now. I don't know what value that would be,
Yeah,
but I'm hearing these, freedom, adventure, nature is one of mine top values.
yeah,
But I'm
definitely.
hearing, yeah, I'm hearing that, like that connection. And I feel what happens is when people get depressed, what I found when I've worked with people, it's because they're not living their values, or they can't live their values, or they're not honoring them.
Absolutely.
Or it's they've got a high value. So say for example, someone's got a high value around loyalty, but they're being disloyal, and there's that internal conflict that causes depression. So there's a
For
couple of
sure.
things I've realized. So it's like be true to you, like know who you are and live your values as much as you can and honor that, trust your intuition. And as we're talking about the pandemic, you're like, I needed connection. Like, who's anyone to say to anyone, you are not allowed to connect with another human being?
Yeah.
Who
I
is
like
it's a basic freedom.
the Canadian government was just stupid as hell with the lockdowns. Like the way, I get it, you need to have some control over and limit the movement of people, but like a year and a half, like, are you kidding me? Like, come
You had
on,
it bad.
like we had it. Like I think Australia is the only country that had it worse than us, and maybe China also has it very bad. In fact, it's so bad that they still have it. They have a zero COVID policy, which is, it's just so unrealistic and stupid. So, but yeah, like I don't agree with the way the Canadian government handled it. I would have done it very differently if it was me. I would have isolated the people who are at most risk. Like all the hotels are empty because no tourists are coming in. I would have isolated the more at risk people, get them a really nice hotel, make sure their food is taken care of, make sure they're comfortable, and then let the people who are keeping the economy afloat, let them keep going to work. So many people lost their jobs and their income and livelihood, and it was just mismanaged so much that I don't know. It was really bad. Unnecessary pain for
Yeah, it's
so many
almost like that
people.
repressing. Yeah, repression leads to depression, leads to adversity, also leads to great creativity. So I mean, from this, you're able to create
Yeah, that's
from
all
this
I could do.
pain.
I had nothing else to do with my time, so I made tons of music. I think I actually took a tally. I recorded something like 54 songs in 2020. It was nuts. Like the
Wow.
amount of, yeah, that was a lot. I had nothing else to do. I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't do jujitsu. You couldn't go out with friends. You can't do anything. You can't go on a date. You can't do anything. You couldn't. There was just nothing to do other than this. So that's when I wrote my book. I did my courses. Like I even made some sample packs. Like I did so much stuff that I normally wouldn't have. So there was some good that came out of it for sure.
I love that your course needs to be out there for people to buy and download.
Yeah, it's on my website. I just don't promote it just because I just don't have time right now to do it. But who
Just
knows
getting
in the
someone else to
future?
promote that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
100%. It'll help
Yeah,
many.
I'm looking forward to your
It'll help many.
upcoming book and everything. I'll make sure I
Yeah,
read that.
on love,
Yeah,
healing, everything through love. And obviously these podcasts will end up being in my book, as in like my own ones, like almost like chapters of my book.
like excerpts and
And,
stuff.
you know,
Yeah, yeah. You can take
yeah,
pieces of it. Yeah, yeah. No,
I
that'll
love
be
that.
cool. I'm
And
looking forward to that.
thank
Uh,
you. Yeah, it's that. I think it's just living your passion. It makes me happy more than anything else. It makes me really, really fulfilled to create. I think that life sells you this illusion, and we can look again to like social media, but to the self-help world of doing a vision board with material things and things that you might want, but really it comes from soul and living, for me anyway, your soul's purpose.
mm-hmm.
And when you're living your purpose, and for me it's always serving, it gives me the most happiness. And serving and
It
connecting, like
is.
speaking to you, like I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. As long as I'm doing this, I could be anywhere. I could be on a beach or I could be here at home. As long as I'm doing this, I'm like, my creativity is like, woohoo! I can't explain it. And it's finding them things in your life that no one can take from you. Like, I was in lockdown, probably in one of the worst financial positions of my life, going through the most conflict. And yet, my acting, nobody could take away that joy and that pleasure,
Yeah,
because it was something
absolutely.
that I found and I created. And that's what I would encourage everyone, like, not to get, because we've talked about this before, haven't we? Like, not to get sucked up in that illusion of that picture perfect life, which really doesn't fulfill your soul. What fulfills your soul is this and doing what you love.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think the world would be a happier place if more people pursued what they wanted to. But obviously, it's not always realistic for a lot of people. And like, I'm very lucky that I even had the privilege to be able to start. So I'm very
I love
grateful for
that
that.
though. I would challenge that, because it's not about the end goal, it's about the journey, who you meet along the way, and it's about just doing it. So, with the essence of the acting, I will probably put together a method around this, but it's like just acting out your shadow and your darkness and different things that you're scared to do,
Yeah,
like integrates you as a person. And
yeah.
it's
What
not
I
about being there at the end goal or, creating a show or being on stage. And as you said, that what you've done and what I'm doing, maybe people won't get there, but it's like, just that doesn't matter. Oh my gosh, the
Yeah,
computer's
no.
gonna
What I
fall.
meant was that not
Yes,
everybody even
Marina, it
has.
doesn't matter.
What I
It
meant was that
doesn't
not.
matter.
Yeah, no. What I meant was that not everyone has even the, like. Let's say if you're a poor kid in Somalia and you want to be an actor, like, it's just not realistic because of your situation. But like, yeah, if you grew up in the West and you're born here, then yeah, those opportunities are probably more possible for you. So not everyone is as lucky as me, to be able to just be like, oh, I want to be an artist. So that's kind of what I meant with the whole being able to do it. But yeah, no, I hear you. It
Yeah, and I
shouldn't be about the
suppose,
end goal.
yeah, it's just about enjoying it. It's just
Yeah,
about, just enjoying it, like, and that connection and who you meet along the way and what lights you up. Like, if that's singing, I can't sing, by the way, but, well, not like I can't sing, but
I
I've
don't know.
been
You
off
have a
stage a couple of
you
times.
have a nice speaking voice, so who knows? Maybe you
Thank
can.
you. I never forget, that's why I was bullied actually at school. Because I thought I could be a singer. So I was bullied.
Oh,
And
trust me,
I
people
got up on
bullied me
stage.
too. So yeah, I
Did
mean,
they?
not in the way that. I mean, it's more like discouragement. They're like, "Oh, don't do it. It's too hard. This and that." But yeah, um, yeah. Like how they say they bullied you because secretly they're probably jealous of you. So that's probably what it was, right?
For anyone that's got bullied, I think if you're not a follower and you're eccentric, and I was on stage singing Feed the World and, putting yourself out there, if you're doing that and you're putting yourself out there, then you're standing out, you know. It's like when you're an artist, people, you're going to get trolls, you're going to get people, and that's all
Yeah,
good. It's all part of the process. If you want to sit down and do what everyone else is doing, you know, what's
yeah.
the quote? I
Anytime,
love it.
yeah, no. Anytime you do anything that's out of the ordinary, you are gonna attract some hate and trolling. It's just part of the game.
It's just part of it. And brilliant that I experienced that at a young age because it made me more resilient.
Yeah,
And I
for
think
sure.
resilience is what you need in the creative industry.
Oh my god. Like this is the music business is not for the weak. And I'm sure acting is the same, but like the music industry is absolutely brutal. Like if you need like you need to be made of steel to survive it. It's so cutthroat and brutal and the competition is so insane that it's the weak simply can't survive it.
And I think all when I see this is that I see it's like a big heart, and it's almost like love becomes your superpower. And I'll give you an example. It's just so random. This woman was shouting at me today, and maybe I parked somewhere I shouldn't. She was like, "You should mow that shit," and I was just like, "Oh, you know, I just sent her loads of love," and I was just like, "Really sorry, apologies," you know, and like people, you can't when you're in love, people can't fight with that. You know, when you
Mm.
know who you are and go, you know what, I know myself. Hands up, I know my shadow. I know what's good. I know what I love. I know what I don't love. When you know yourself, it's you can say whatever you want to me. It's not about me. It's not about you. And I know myself, so I'm okay with that. And it's just inspiring others to do the same, right?
That's
To
very
go,
interesting. Yeah, that's a very interesting way to handle a confrontation. Something that I can learn from you. Yeah, that's really cool. That you have so much
because
confidence
I
in
can
who you are that
understand.
yeah, it doesn't affect like your ego doesn't get involved in the conflict. Yeah, that's cool. I admire that.
Oh no, because it's not about me. That's about her. She's going through her stress. It's how she sees the world. I can look at it and go, I can't really understand that because, okay, maybe I parked there. I mean, I'm not going to see my kids for 10 days. And maybe I'm a little bit, okay, cool. Or, you know, the other guy who parked somewhere similar, he just lost his wife. And if somebody can't put, is so stressed in their own life, they have to project their hate or their issues or not even just calmly go, okay, like what's happening to the other person. I've just got to send them love because they obviously have no power in their own life.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's not
true.
about
Yeah.
me.
Yeah,
And
that's a
I
good.
don't want them to affect my reality. Like I'm all good.
Yeah, I mean I've had this and I've grown a lot because I used to have a very short temper and I still do to some degree, but I've gotten a lot better at managing it. You know, like somebody annoys me in public, like there were times where I screamed at people in public just because they've done something to me, and I'm not like crazy, like I don't just go do it, but it's happened, and when I think back on it, I'm like, was that really the best way to handle that situation? It didn't really make anything better, you know. So I think the way you handled it is way better. It's much more effective, and then there's no bad blood after either. So yeah,
I just think
we
when you
all
respect you, when you know you, it's almost like, cool, it's not about me. And oh God, I maybe shouldn't park there. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
yeah.
you know, who can argue with someone that goes like, "I'm sorry," you know, like, you know, and it's a power thing. It's really sad at the moment. There's a lot of collective anger,
Hmm.
but a lot of people are having their power taken away, and I have compassion for that.
For sure, you do. That's a
And
really healthy perspective.
I don't want people to affect my vibration. Like I had that growing up
Yeah, like
when
just
I had
being
so much
angry
anger
and
around me.
yeah, no, I've done a lot of work on that because I've had I think my uh I've always had a short it's something I inherited from my dad, a short temper. You know, like and obviously it doesn't come off on social it's not that it goes off all the time, but when it does it can be pretty nasty and it's something that I've learned to control and not let because if you think about it, what is anger? It's just you indulging and feeding your ego. You know, it feels
Mm.
good in the moment, but then as soon as you come down from your anger high, it's not you feel like shit afterwards. So it's not good for the people that you do it to, you know. It's not fun for them either. So it's not something so I think the way you handled that was perfect. I'm not quite there yet, but soon hopefully.
Well, it's almost like I don't know. I I think I saw so much of it growing up. Like again, maybe it doesn't affect me as much, and I know that that was coming from my parents being in an unhappy place,
Yeah.
and then I think when you're more at a calm, peaceful stage, people can't trigger your vibrational energy, and others don't affect it. Only you're almost affecting theirs. That's the
Hmm.
goal.
For sure. I agree. Very
But
interesting.
there's nothing with a bit of anger. I find a little bit of
No,
anger
I
quite sexy, to be honest with you. I
some
enjoy a
of
bit of
it
acting, a bit of anger.
some of it is like I think some of it sometimes you need it, you know, but I think in most situations uh like I think there was a one time, yeah, like it just depends on the situation. I think in most cases it'll make things worse. So it's better to handle it the way you did, you know, calmly and having empathy for that person. Maybe they're having a bad day, right? You don't know that. Maybe it wasn't
I
personally.
don't think it's I don't think it's necessary that maybe, but then it's not judging that, right? And then I'm it's me stepping outside of judgment and then understanding there's something around power there. Maybe they didn't have that power in their own life.
Mhm.
There's some there's something, and everyone has the right to feel powerful. And if that's what they need in that moment, okay. I don't need to live my life like that.
Yeah,
And I
no.
don't need to let others affect me, because once somebody has affected me in that situation, they've won.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. Yeah, true. Very
Their
interesting.
energy's overpowered my energy. If I'm having a good day and somebody comes up to me and shouts and screams and swears at me, and I let that overpower me, well, their energy's affected my energy and they've won. And I'm left then with this emotion that really, when you're centered, nothing really should really throw you and affect you.
That's true. That's amazing. That's definitely something to aspire to. Slowly, I'm getting there
But it's like
too.
martial arts, very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, like don't get me wrong, like I've reacted badly in some situations in the past, like when like my relatives annoyed me, or if somebody in public like cuts me off or does something stupid, you know. Uh I think I would handle it much better now. But when I was younger, like yeah, like if somebody I've I think it's one guy like blocked at the entrance of like the mall or something, and I waited for him to come back, and I just screamed at him because he blocked like 50 cars from being able to come in, and I couldn't believe how selfish he was that he did that. You know, so I'm like, there's no fucking way in hell I can let this guy get away with this. You know, so I ripped his head off. Like I just screamed at him so much, and then he was like visibly scared, like because he thought he was gonna get assaulted. And I'm glad I did it. Like I'm glad I made him aware of what he did, but maybe the way I did it wasn't the right way to do it, you know? And I don't even know this guy. I just screamed at him, you know, like and because like I was so irritated at the fact that like how could he be so selfish? Like how could he do this? You know? So I actually waited for him to come back to his car just so I could scream at him. And this was like years, like 10 years ago. Like I don't think I would do something
I
like
love it.
that
I love
now.
it though, because it's a value, right? So if you've got a high value that's being stepped on, that's going to happen, right?
It was so
So you
disrespectful.
have
Like
a
I
high
couldn't
value around
believe.
respect.
Yeah, it wasn't even just me. Like look at the all the other. There was like a lineup of cars trying to get in, and you just didn't care. You know, I'm like this. I can't let that slide. Like this was disrespect on a level that like nobody should be able to get away with that. It was so disrespectful to every other. He doesn't own that mall, you know, or whatever. Like what gives him the right to do that? So I'm like fuck this. There's no way I'm gonna let this slide. So I just like he was like literally shaking in fear when I was because I literally came right beside his window and I just screamed at him for like 5 minutes straight. Like, and it was it was a little funny, but like I think like he was like a kid, like, probably like a teenager, and I just like ripped his head off, and it was it was funny, but yeah, like obviously it's not something good to do in public.
Do you know what it reminds me of?
What does it remind you of?
Like a father having a go at his son.
Yeah, I mean, I was barely older than him at that time, but still, yeah, I see your point. Yeah.
It's like the mirror of your childhood, right? So we're running like 95% of our life on our subconscious mind, and we're going, okay, this is how we're conditioned. You do something wrong, you've disrespected, this is da da da, you're not followed the rules. So I need to tell you now. And it's like it's just the subconscious mind, right? 0 to 7. That's how your dad acted maybe to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I could be totally wrong, so please forgive me.
Not always.
But
Yeah,
it's
sometimes. But like with
but there's an
me,
element of
well,
that coming
the
out, like
good news
in a
is
father authoritarian figure that was in your life.
maybe I didn't think of it that way. But like the good news is, I'm sure that guy never did that again after getting that verbal assault. He probably never did that
But
again.
maybe not. I remember being hit as a child. I still did it again. I did. Like, I
Wow.
remember it didn't stop me. So, does being in that
Well, he's
stop
probably
you
gonna think like
from doing it again?
maybe he's gonna cross the wrong person next time, and so maybe he'll be scared to do it again. Yeah, but we don't know. I never saw the guy again, so who knows?
We don't know. His mum could have
Yeah,
died the day before and he could have been all over the place.
yeah, that's the thing, and I didn't
Who
think of that
knows?
exactly. So like obviously I could have handled it better. I mean, I didn't need to
Yeah,
scream at
who
him.
knows?
I could have just said, "Hey, man, it's pretty selfish of you to block the entrance like that. Please don't do it again." And that could have been the end of it. Like I didn't need to scream at him for 5 minutes. So
Yeah, and it's good that you can reflect on it. And also
yeah,
it's around authority. Like I'm hearing like authority and obeying rules. And there's something around that. And I don't know, I just feel that
yeah, that's a whole other
I
topic.
would,
Yeah,
yeah, that could go
yeah.
down. But if there is an element of that, right? I don't think I've always been, there was rules when I grew up, but there was an element of, I suppose I was punished quite harshly.
Oh
I
my
don't
God,
know.
sorry
I've
to hear
never
that. Yeah.
ever, yeah, but I've never gone up to anyone and have I ever done that? Put an authority on them to do something or to tell them, no, I haven't.
No,
Maybe it's
it wasn't about
because,
authority. It was just like just lack of courtesy on his part. Like I'm like, how can you do this to so many people? And like all the other people are probably gonna be too scared to say anything. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll do it because I wasn't scared to say it. So
yeah. I said, and I can totally understand, like, but there's an element of, I don't know, it's not, it doesn't bother me that much
well, I'm
because I
glad to
can
hear that.
probably think of times when I've done stupid
Yeah.
things. Honestly, I
Yeah.
can. I can think of times when I've probably parked in stupid places, driven stupidly, just because I wasn't grounded from my own
Hmm.
trauma.
Interesting.
And how I couldn't do it to someone else because I know I probably been was probably done the most awfulest driving in my life, not intentionally, but because I haven't been as present in my life as I have wanted to be in certain stages, and
Hmm.
I've had people shout and scream at me in the car,
Wow,
and
I
I'm
can't
just like,
believe that.
I'm
You're so nice.
sorry.
Why would anybody yell at you? Yeah.
No,
That's funny.
so I can't do it to someone else. Um,
I haven't done it in a
yeah.
long time, so making progress. It's been
Yeah,
years.
amazing. Yeah, amazing. I think it's the collective anger like we're saying at the moment. And I know that anger, like we need a release of anger. So
Yeah,
for
like
me,
I'm
I
not
done
an
karate
yeah, like
when
I
I
do
grew up
jujitsu.
because I had a
Yeah.
lot of anger around me.
It's funny, like
And when I
I'll
did
do
the
jiu
acting, that was
yeah. Yeah,
gone.
like those are all good. Like for me, like I'm not an angry person at all. It's just that like when there's a certain line that gets crossed, then the gloves come off and all hell can break loose at that point. But normally I'm totally chill and easygoing. Even in jujitsu, if somebody accidentally knees me in the face, like I won't lose my. It's part of the sport and it happens. That something like that. It's more about like when somebody's like blatantly disrespectful. You know, like so I think some
Yeah,
time
it's
one
high
one
value around respect.
like one guy like I think he yelled at my mom or something in public or something. I'm like, are you fucking stupid? Like, and then like I obviously at that point like my temper like started flaring like crazy. So but that's like a blatant disrespect. So those are the triggers where I feel like a little bit of anger comes in handy. But other than that, 99% of situations, it's completely useless.
Yeah, there's an element of being a protector and
Exactly.
protecting the ones that you love. Um, yeah, and also like knowing when your prefrontal cortex gets triggered.
Yeah. Like if somebody yells at my mom or something or my niece or something, I can't let that slide. There's just no way I can let that go unchecked. So yeah, there's probably like the protector instinct, probably something like that. That's probably what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think we all have that in us. I think when we've got that fierce, but you know what's brilliant? Amir is just owning it and, owning like, we all have this, and I think if we're pushed in certain situations, most people would react in similar ways. And, as I grew up in a very volatile environment where I had constant people shouting and screaming, I know that, for example, if I got into a relationship where someone was shouting at me a lot, you mirror neurons. You end up mirroring someone else if
Yeah,
you're not in a state of calm. If you don't meditate, if you don't, you're going to end up mirroring that. And I don't want to be around that because I've seen it.
I agree,
And when you've got
100%.
that trauma, know who activates that trauma and who doesn't.
Yeah, 100%.
Who
I
brings the
agree
peace to you and the calm, and who makes you just want to you don't want to be around that.
for sure. It's just too unpleasant to be around. I agree. Yeah, that was we unpacked a lot there. A lot to think
We
about.
did unpack quite a lot there. We did. We did. And we did like talk on this amazing subject around porn before.
Yeah, that's a interesting one. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that again something very bad for society. It goes to like the dopamine, right? Like it's too much dopamine. It's like eating candy all day. It's the same thing for your brain. Your brain can't tell the difference. So if you get constant dopamine hits, that's why social media is bad for you too, because every time you get a like or a comment, and you're constantly checking for more. And that's the same thing with porn or from eating candy and all that. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call here. Let me just mute this.
That was just, I just think again, it's very inspirational because it's a lot around the way you make love is the way you live your life, right? And it's around the performance sometimes around that.
Yeah, terrible for society, so bad for the brain, too much dopamine. So that's my take on that. But that's a very interesting subject for sure.
Yeah. And it's just around, dropping into what's real and what's not.
Yeah, it's all fake. It's acting, right? And
Yeah.
it's like social media. Social media is mostly fake. People only show their best highlights of their life. So it's like that's why you shouldn't compare yourself to people on social media either.
Yeah, I love it. I love that, like you've just been so authentic and honest and just been like, this is some of my
Yeah,
shallow stuff.
I try to keep
This
it
is who I
real.
am. This is what I don't like. I want deep connection. I don't want the artificial. Like you may think it's great to get to me and have all these likes and have this music, but I don't want these women like that are just throwing
Yeah,
themselves at me.
yeah, it depends. Like if they're cool and somebody you can have a connection with, then sure, But yeah, just for like just bullshit or whatever, no, there's no time for that. So
The chuck away mentality, isn't it? It's like
yeah,
there's no
again,
time for
it's instant
fakeness.
gratification, right? Like it comes down to that, like we discussed earlier. But yeah, too much of that in the world.
I love it because you're an example of courage, discipline, authenticity, and how you've come on that journey of remaining true to you is admirable. Admirable.
Thank you, appreciate it. Same with you.
And I hope you inspire many other men. If
I
you could
hope so.
speak to
Yeah.
like a man, yeah, what would you say around that?
To men, I don't know. I haven't thought about it,
Yeah.
but maybe just don't be. Uh, I don't know. Like hit the gym, do a martial art, chase your goals and dreams. Don't be a thirsty idiot on social media, leaving comments on girls' pictures and like don't do stupid shit like that. And it just makes you look dumb. And pursue your goals. Put your energy into things that are gonna move your life forward, rather than yeah, like being in clowning around on social media and like liking every girl's picture and like doing how most guys behave or sliding. Like I'm sure like you probably get a lot of bad DMs from from a lot of guys and stuff. Like yeah, like I
I
hate
just
when
see it as
men.
loneliness, you know.
It is loneliness
I see it as
because social
loneliness, and I think
media has done that, right? But like you can still control your own actions. I mean, come on, like you think
you feel better about yourself, right? It's almost like I feel better about myself when I'm doing what I love and creating. And I think that's what you're saying. Like, find your passions, because there's
exactly,
nothing more
yeah,
sexy. There's nothing more sexy than a man that's doing what he loves and that's doing his passion. And also in a relationship, you can keep falling in love with that person again and again and again. If they're falling in love with themselves and what they're doing and what they're creating.
exactly, yeah. That's
So
what
it's very sexy.
you nailed it. Yeah, exactly. So follow that. I think that's a better pursuit. So yeah, I'm glad I got to get my
And channel that energy into that.
exactly. I'm glad I got to get my opinions and 2 cents out. Thank you for providing me that
Thank
platform.
you. Thank you. I've
Yeah,
enjoyed it. Thank you for the honor.
yeah, that was awesome.
Thank
Damn,
you
we've been
so
talking for 2 hours.
much.
That's crazy. Time flew.
I know. What are we
Wow.
going to do? We're still recording this now. We're going to probably edit some of it down.
Yeah, we can do that. Or I think it
What do
should
you
be okay.
think?
I mean,
Yeah?
I think you could just post it. But did you stop recording it yet?
Yeah, okay.
It's still
I'm
going.
happy. No, let me stop
Okay, yeah.
recording it.